Hello and good afternoon, good evening, and in some places, good morning. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And as you can see by the amazing panel in front of you, we have a lot of friends here today. Kay Asante is unfortunately not going to be joining us. He is actually stuck in New England. His flight was delayed because of the weather that Florida is having. But of course, safe travels for him and the family. He'll be back next week. But we do have a great panel. We have some breaking news, folks. The PlayStation 5 sales numbers are in, and we're going to break all of those down. Of course, like the industry as a whole, they are also down a hefty amount of points when you start doing the year over year, or of course comparing quarter to quarter. They're down. And listen, that is the industry right now. That is the world right now. People are not buying consoles. And again, before we even go any further, I think I have found the true culprit for causing these world economic problems. And that would be the Xbox Series S, folks. It is once again being blamed for everything that is happening in this world, including, holding back this generation. Of course, I jest, but let's get into the introductions and fun speculation. Mav is with us tonight. Mav, how you feeling, brother? It has been way too long. How you feeling, man?
It's been a minute, man. Dude, we haven't had a lot of consistent shows actually the last 10 days or so ourselves, just because I had been sick. But
yeah,
man, it seems like this week and late last week, finally all the news and gamings just started dropping all at once. We had all these layoffs, and then you had Avowed getting delayed. You had the financials come out for all these companies. You had more doom and gloom spreading around about Xbox. And then today, the salvation comes, or the clarity in the form of the financials for PlayStation as well. So there's
Some would call it a chin check, but okay.
It's been really interesting past week of news, and we're got a lot to talk about and go over with all the financials and stuff. And my voice is still in and out, and has some coughing and stuff like that, but I'm good to go, man. So
listen, we are happy that you're here, even though you're not 100%. But brother, thank you so much. And again, sorry that you're under the weather. That sucks, or at least you're starting to come out of it. But great to have you here. Great to be working with you again, as always. Pixelbit G, what's going on, dude? You were on the socials. We got a couple of tweets I want you to, particularly point out about, some of the differences where you're talking about Team Green versus talking about Team Blue. It seems like there are two different playbooks. How you feeling, man? Welcome back.
I'm feeling great, man. It's always good to be back. I mean, I like it because the media is consistently inconsistent, right? I mean, that's the whole thing, right? So, I haven't had a lot of time to roast people, but this morning was a good roasting. So,
yeah. Well, some further roasting may continue on this show, because a few of the journalistic publications came out and pointed out that this was a solid Q1 for PlayStation, except for hardware. And I thought hardware was the only thing or the only metric, but we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. And again, it just proves, folks, that it's not just Microsoft that took it on the chin, so to speak, with hardware sales. It is across the board. And unfortunately, Nintendo actually leads the highest with 46.3% year over year. Now, of course, there's been some Defense Force folks out there saying that, they've sold 140 million. They're actually 2.5 million away from actually overtaking the PlayStation 2, which that has been a record that has been held on by Sony Corp for decades. And it looks like the Nintendo Switch is going to surpass the 144 million consoles for the PS4 sold. I mean, PS2 sold, and that's a pretty big deal. And again, we have a lot of numbers we're going to break down. We got some theories. Again, we've seen some really, really bad takes specifically. And again, I don't dislike the guy. I watch his stuff all the time. I'm talking about Destin Legary of IGN, that podcast Unlocked, which I did wind up doing a video on. him saying that he doesn't understand why it doesn't make business sense for Microsoft to invest in next generation when they can't sell their current gen. I just think that was such a really, really reckless and poor take on his part. Someone that is abreast to the industry, like hands-on. That was just a very, very, very poor take. But Hargi Chani, you've been waiting for this. You've been waiting for the PlayStation numbers. They're here, and we're going to get into them. How you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah, just interesting news today. There's also this whole Warner and
Yes.
Xbox thing that's going on. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we'll get into that too. But yeah, the financials finally came out. Nintendo financials came out before, and we saw the same thing. And like shockingly, is like everybody else, everything else that's going down. Like so fine, it is what it is. But the only one that gets called out, of course, is Xbox, and they should just leave the market. But didn't Matt Piscatella put out that everybody's doing okay? And
it's funny that you bring up Matt. I don't know Matt personally. I've spoken to him on DM. Well, I happen to have that particular tweet right in front of me. So, gentlemen, before we actually get into the PlayStation numbers, and of course, the report at least the article that I'm going to use is, of course, and you got to give credit where credit is due, GameIndustry.biz. This was posted early this morning. It was written by Marie D, who was the deputy editor. It was published, obviously, August 7th, 2024. And the lead title says, solid Q1 for Sony, but PlayStation 5 hardware unit sales down 27% year over year. We're going to get into a little bit more of the finite behind what she is saying here. We have other details that they didn't talk about publicly, or a lot of people in the media didn't talk about. It is published in the article, and again, I will read verbatim, but I wanted to bring in Matt Piscatella here for a second. He's not here. He's never been on the show. Maybe one day, Matt will join us.
That'd be awesome.
But I'm a big fan of Matt Piscatella. He's a numbers guy. He's an industry insider that watches the trends and reports on the highs and lows of the industry. Well, he put out a tweet this morning that was pretty interesting, and he goes on to say this, folks. In the U.S., PlayStation 5 is still 7% ahead of the PlayStation 4 lifetime sales, which is great. The Switch is only, here it is, 1.1 million units behind PlayStation 2 in lifetime sales. I actually thought it was higher. Well, there it is, folks. 1.1.
But this is U.S. Just keep in mind.
It's just U.S. Okay,
just
so it's U.S.,
not global,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, the global is 144. I think they're 2.6, 2.8. They're close. They're very close. And he goes on to say, even Xbox Series, for all its challenges, is holding close to the Xbox 360 LTD, which of course is the lifetime.
Wait a minute. Can you say that again? Because that doesn't sound right.
Well, I will read it verbatim, and I have the numbers.
Thank you.
I went numbers crazy with this because, again, if you listen to Podcast Unlocked, if you listen to Colin Moriarty, if you listen to a few of these other, Rampant and Raven type podcasts from the gaming media, they'll try and tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it's just no hope for Xbox. They're nowhere even close to the numbers. As a matter of fact, Destin Legary said in a tweet responding to the people that reached out to him and probably weren't as polite as I would have been, talking about he doesn't even think that the Xbox Series consoles are going to be able to match the Xbox One consoles, which is, again, another really bad take. But I'll read it for you verbatim. He says, even Xbox Series, for all its known challenges, is holding close to Xbox 360 lifetime sales and will get a CF25 boost. Okay, so he finishes it off by saying, Pixelbit G, no, the console market isn't doomed. Sheesh. Well, look, there you go, folks. Now, I do have some of the numbers specifically for the Xbox 360, if you want me to read those verbatim. I do have them here. Give me a second to just find them because I have to scroll. they're only they're very close to where the Xbox 360. I think it's like it's a few million from where the Xbox 360 was in its life cycle versus where the Xbox Series X and S is. Now, a few million is still a few million consoles, but this is a much different generation. Now, back in 2015, that ideology, I'm saying 2015, 2005, when you had the PS3 and you had the Xbox 360 console, what you had is a market that dictated its sales based on consoles. You bought the box, you bought games for box, right? That was just really like digital was in its infancy then. This is a much different generation. Now, I make no excuses for Microsoft, not selling their boxes. I mean, that's that they have to figure that out, but they are close. But Pixelbit G, I want to go to you first.
Yep.
And again, I want to thank you for being here. The numbers are in. And again, this is pulled directly from GameIndustry.biz. I'm reading verbatim from the article that was posted this morning regarding the newly released numbers from Sony Corp for PlayStation 5. And it says this, Pixel. Revenue from hardware sales were on the decline, though down 21% to what they equated to 146 billion yen. That equals 990 million. With the PlayStation 5 shifting 2.4 million units during the quarter compared to 3.3 million consoles sold last year at the same time. And of course, this is where the year over year comes into play. It was a 27% decrease in units. But when compared to Q4, which now they are reporting on Q1, so last quarter, Q4, which was ended on March 31st, 2024, PlayStation 5 sales were down 44% in revenue and 46% from 45 million units shifted then. That is a really big number, and it's a number that nobody is actually talking about. Let's get your hot take on the report of 27% being down year over year, and of course, the caveat where if you compare it to the last quarter, because this is the quarters follow each other, Q4 was the end of that fiscal year. Q1 is the start of the new fiscal year, which is what we're in right now. And there was a massive decline, which equated 46%. That's a big number.
Yeah, and that's the I think some of you may have saw my tweet earlier in the day when I pointed out that it's interesting that the media decides to focus on the 22% while trying to ignore the quarterly, right? I'm pretty sure when they did the reporting on Microsoft, it's always been the quarterly reporting, right? There's quarter after quarter, they're having losses, right? So let's do the quarterly comparison, right? 46% quarterly. That is a massive drop. And anyone trying to pretend that it's not is lying to themselves and lying to their audience, right? And there are some clear explanations to why something would fall off a cliff like it is, right? One is they don't have content worth buying at this point, right? And then the other is that there may be some market saturation 4 years into the console, right? As well as economic issues, etc. But the problem is, I don't care if either of the consoles live at this point, right? Because PC rules, but report things evenly, and that's where I call these things out at, because you don't report evenly, right? If you're going to report on Microsoft losing in a quarterly, then go ahead and report the bigger number and blow that up. Make that your headline. Right? Most of the articles decided to make the 22% the headline and then bury the 46%, the real banger, in there, right? You're starting your quarter with massive losses. You're starting your fiscal year with massive losses coming into the next quarters where you really don't have any content, So then you have some people saying, "Oh, well, the magical Pro will automatically save the brand," and I'm like, based on what? The Pro console is a console that's made for only the most hardcore gamers. Nobody else is going to care about that. The same way with the PS4 and Xbox, with the One X.
Yeah, the One X and the One S.
Only the
Yes.
hardcore purchase that, right? Nobody else is buying that. It's a niche console made for a smaller audience. So you may get a boost, but it's not going to be the kind of boost they think. I think that what we're seeing is actual saturation, and people just aren't interested in moving into the next consoles, which is fine because it's happening everywhere.
Yep.
Entertainment is a luxury item.
Yes.
And my thing is, stop fronting and acting like when it happens to one company that it's oh man, look, they should just hang it up. Like, what are they doing? Nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying anything because everyone is hedging their bets. Nobody's buying consoles. Nobody's buying hardware. Nvidia's down, right? I think their sales were down as well, right? So like hardware in general is down. But unfortunately, you never get that critical think piece from the media that says, we should maybe be looking at this holistically as opposed to trying to dogpile on Xbox, right? Maybe we should look at everything that's happening and see if other companies are being impacted, which they were. And the thing is, we've seen the same thing with the firings and the jobs being lost, right? Everyone wants to pretend that, it's only Microsoft, it's only Xbox, when it's been an industry-wide thing for 2 years, right? So that's what people are getting called out for, right? Like, hey, as far as I'm concerned, the consoles are fine, right? They will make their money, but we need to stop acting like one console is magically more resilient to console losses than the other one, when one company is actually designed at this point to manage to be around without a console, or to be around with much less sales because their software is selling in other places now, right? They're the ones with the 500 MAU versus the 120 or whatever, right? They're in the better position at this point. But the media seems to like this. It's important for them to continue to pretend to casuals who listen to them that, don't worry about it, it's fine. I mean, like, everything was fine with Blockbuster until it wasn't, right? So that's where I'm at with it.
It's a great point. It's a great point all around. Mav, I want to bring you into the conversation. It's funny. I was going to lead with something that Pixelbit finished off with. And there are a couple of people in the chat that are like, hey, they sold, PlayStation have sold 60 million consoles. That's awesome. Congratulations for Sony Corp. There's some caveat into that. If you again, you see the 60 million and you're proud. You're a proud PlayStation owner and you're like, yes, 60 million consoles. I won. Okay, good. Congratulations. I'll pat you on the ass. It's fine. But here's the finite details. What was that percentage of of profit? I think it was like 7%, which is a single digit. And unlike people in the gaming media who continue to say, well, Boom, 56 points were Activision. What shocks me, gentlemen and chat, is that instead of just saying Microsoft made these numbers, they have to go into the trenches of the details and say, well, 56 points came the way of Activision. Well, the last time I checked, Microsoft owned Activision. So stop doing that. It's one company. It's different. Yes, there are different arms of the company. Activision is a publisher. Bethesda is a publisher. Xbox is a publisher. But you know what? They all are under one umbrella, and all the money that they make go into the same big bank, which of course Microsoft owns. So when you try to break it down, you seem like a boob. That's just so stop being boobish, gaming media and knucklehead community, because you're embarrassing yourself. With that said, I want to also bring in MAUs. Well, what are MAUs, folks? Monthly active users. And if you want to run around with your 60 million consoles sold, that is awesome. Let me give you folks a number. PlayStation and we're being generous. We're giving them a 2 extra million on the back end because it's between 100 million and 118. We're saying $120. I'm giving them 2 million just for shits and giggles. They have 120 million active users. That's a lot of active users for their content, right? Wow, 120 million people. That's ridiculous. Well, FYI, confirmed by Satya Nadella himself, Microsoft or Xbox Gaming, 500 million active users. That to me, and I'm no mathematician here, folks, is 5-1. Who's winning? Are we talking? Are we still talking console sales? Because I don't know if I would if I were you, but it's fine. Mav, let's get into the numbers. And you made mention of the gaming media protecting Sony, right? They're always out there. The Sony has a massive Earth Defense Force, and at one push of a button, they come flying out. And insider gaming. I use Tom Henderson stuff all the time because people were, I guess, freaking out about the numbers. He had to write an article where it says PlayStation 5 sales are nothing to worry about, people. Just to give you the heads up. I'm just wondering where these articles were when the Xbox numbers came out. Again, two different playbooks. Let's get your hot take on the numbers for PlayStation 5's first quarter of revenue.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it just kind of shows more than anything, the constant dooming and glooming over Xbox. Anytime that they have anything that comes out that appears negative, it's, hey, get out of the console space. Hey, they need to give up. Hey, why are they even trying anymore? This Xbox is going to go out of business in a couple of years anyway. Like, let's just go ahead and move on and try something different. And it's just this constant narrative that's been going on for seems like 10 years now. And I'm just kind of over that whole thing. If you really look at overall the history of console sales and Xbox and PlayStation going back for a very long time, they've all generally sold at the end of the day around the same amount per generation, right? And Xbox has found a way to go beyond that. They've moved past this box that they've been kept in to expand more to PC. Now going into mobile, they're doing some other platform stuff as well. They have the cloud. They have this new Play Everywhere initiative. They have cross-play, cross-buy. All of these things to incentivize people into the ecosystem that it gives people different access points and places to play. Hence the 500 million monthly active users that you mentioned probably have over 100 million in Minecraft alone. Which, remember, people criticized them when they bought Mojang originally. When they bought Minecraft, they're like, "Oh, they spent too much money on that."
Yep.
Right. Overall, what matters most is Microsoft still see value in the console market. And this is the point that when these ignorant games media people that I would think have some kind of common sense or some kind of understanding on business or just understand gaming in general, like they just miss the boat on this stuff. Like, does it make sense for Microsoft to still make consoles? Yes, absolutely it does. And as long as it makes business sense for them to make money on all of us that are the console enthusiasts and the console buyer for the Xbox ecosystem, they're going to focus on that as one of their core pillars of their company until the technology is caught up to the point to where it doesn't matter anymore. And so the hardware sales, Xbox, PlayStation, all that kind of stuff, if I'm a consumer and I want to be assured in my security of the future console market, I'd rather have that security blanket that says that a 40-something% decline doesn't mean the death of the potential company over long term, because they have a lot of other sources of income, a lot of other gamers, a lot of other people filling in that pipeline, a lot of growth despite a stagnant console market. And PlayStation's living in that stagnant console market, trying to figure out how to branch out and become Microsoft. You don't think PlayStation wants 500 million monthly active users? They would kill for that. That's what they did, all this games as a service stuff and trying all these different things. That's why they bought these companies to port their games to PC and all these other kind of things, because they know themselves they need to branch out. That's why they recent was it last year they said they're working on a mobile thing as well. They're just so far behind in that front. They're still so business is still so dedicated and dictated by their console space. But the issue is now they're in this like middle ground where they don't have the pipeline to feed that from their first party. So they're scrambling. Jim Ryan saw the writing on the wall. He got the hell out of there. He took one last flight and said he doesn't like flying anymore. He just had to get out. he knew what was going to happen. But the overall, as for Xbox, they're the only ones that have mentioned for between Microsoft and PlayStation about next generation hardware, said repeatedly that they are working on next generation hardware, that they are working on more hardware innovations, that it is going to be a core pillar of their business going forward, that it is still important. They explained it multiple times and why it's important. It serves as a benchmark for development. It serves as a cloud support for their servers, as well as it also there's a huge console market for Microsoft. And like you said, if they're still tracking around the 360, that was not too far away from the Xbox One or whatever as well. And if they have over the course of a generation, let's say 50 million people, 60 million people, or whoever, over the course of 6-7 years or whatever, 8 years that are willing to buy a console, those are people that are locked into the ecosystem, that are going to be locked into the storefront, that are going to be spending money on Microsoft products, on Xbox games, Game Pass subscribers. The other reason this doesn't make sense for they should give up, what's the highest ratio of 1-to-1 for Game Pass Ultimate subscribers comparatively to hardware?
Console.
It's the console user.
Console.
They said
Yes.
repeatedly how much more money we spend than anybody else.
Yep.
We're their best customer. You think they're just going to throw us in the trash and force us to go play on PlayStation and they make 30% less?
Exactly. That's the
It
point.
doesn't
Why
make
why
any
give up the
sense.
100% when you can get so and again, by that logic, Mav, it's saying, hey, get out of hardware, become a third party publisher, right? Give up the 100% that you're going to get to take the 70. Thank goodness he's not running the business. I mean, that's what
And
I'm gonna say
Microsoft
about
is
that.
doing, they're taking the 100%, and then they're also taking the 70
Yeah.
from those games that have ongoing revenue and ongoing games as service games from games like Sea of Thieves now. Hey, why not just take their money too?
While getting the 30% from every game sold in their console. Like,
Yep.
The concept of a console maker choosing to get rid of that base it's just wild to me. I mean, I know they've made some decisions that are like, oh, we're gonna move stuff here and there, but it's like, why do people think that a trillion, a multi-trillion-dollar company at this point is incapable of doing two things at the same time, right? Like, these things don't have to exist in a vacuum. You can have a console space, you can have a cloud space, you can have games on other platforms. The goal is still to make money, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal. And if as long as you're getting your games and you're playing your games, you should be fine. You're the consumer, right? Shut up and
Right.
consume, right? It's like everybody wants to be like, oh, I know exactly what they're gonna do. You don't know what they're gonna do, because their business is their business model isn't like any other console maker business model at this point. And to Matt's point, what we've seen Sony do for like the last 5 years is adjusting their model to try to catch up to Microsoft's model. Right. We saw them kill, what was it, PS Now, merge into the PS Plus platform in order to pretend that their service was somewhere on par with Game Pass, and it's still not. But it never will be, because they don't offer content that anybody cares about. Even though that service has moved up a little bit, right? They've gotten some people to stick with that platform, which is good, right? I mean, that's great. but they're going to need a lot more people sticking with that platform, because on the Microsoft side, if they have 30 million people that are on Game Pass, 99% or 90 something percent of those people are top
On
of the
Ultimate.
tier. They're
Yeah,
ultimate tier users.
Yeah.
Right? That's a lot of money coming in for that tier. And that's before you add any of the stuff that are related to the Activision purchase. Right? So like they're like, the market has changed, and it's been changing for years, right? The one thing actually that somebody that no one has mentioned in any of these articles is that the sales for content for PlayStation digital was 80%.
Yeah.
80%.
Yep.
So for all my physical folks who still crying about physical, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
80%.
we got to
Yep.
know at this point that digital is taking over the market, and there's nothing we can do about it. Right? People have moved over to digital now, and it's just like, that's just part of the deal now. Microsoft was ahead of the curve by a decade on that. They saw it coming, but not really, because Steam was ahead of the curve 2 decades ago. Just
Yep.
saying, like, it's the console space is constantly in motion trying to catch up to where PC is at. I feel like, when it comes to how they deal with content and deal with users. And at some point, the people who love the console have to kind of wake up and realize that it's never going back to what it was in the 90s and the 2000s.
It's just never going to
never going
be
back.
buy box, buy game. It's just not that industry anymore. Sony is still holding on. Nintendo is actually holding on the strongest, and they're making money. They're selling consoles, and they have another console coming out next year that is going to sell as much as the Nintendo Switch one. There is just no doubt. Their software, and Hargeet consistently talks about that, their launch software is expected. And again, I say expected because nothing has been announced, expected to be massive. I mean, like super ridiculous. But listen, Mav, any final thoughts before we hand the mic over to Hargeet? I got some numbers I want to kind of put out there, because I know that there's been some talk.
I just think overall people got to remember that these consoles are cycles, right?
Yes,
and
indeed.
like they go up and then they go down. And so when you're looking at reports on year over years and all these other kind of things, a lot of times you're looking at some kind of metric in a vacuum, right? You're looking at it as like, okay, well, this is part of this cycle. The more important thing is, what were the expectations for the companies in that, and did they meet the expectations, or did they fall well below the expectations? And if they had like 42% below expectations, then that's more of like, whoa, okay, what's going on? But it seems more in line with like a pattern to fall in line with the cycle of generations of consoles, and kind of you add into that where the economy is, the inflation everywhere that's gone like crazy. People don't have as much extra money right now to spend on things. This whole console cycle has been a different kind of animal to begin with as well. So it's something that all of these companies have been trying to have to navigate with. You had COVID, you had chip shortages, then the inflation causing material price increases and all these other kind of things. There's been just thing after thing after thing that's affected console hardware more than even just consumer demand. Then plus on top of that, you have the fact that a lot of consumers are content still playing on Xbox One and PS4. The amount of users still just completely happy with that experience is high. And even you see Jedi Survivor now, they announced that they're making a last generation version of that, because these companies are like, well, that's where people are playing, so let's put the games there, right? And until everybody moves over, you're gonna see kind of like the stagnant cycle where we're at right now. But overall, I think the consoles, compared to Xbox, to PlayStation, Nintendo, they're all kind of around the same place that they've been, and they're all going to be fine. And we're all going to be playing games on console into the next generation as well.
Yeah, the difference, and again, I know that I don't exclude Nintendo because they don't count. Nintendo is, well, they're always going to Nintendo. They sold 13 million Wii U's, which was disastrous, right? The company could have packed it up and just went back to making card games.
Yeah.
But they didn't. What they did is they reinvented the wheel. What they've done many times before, they've changed the industry and they have bent its will to theirs. And they have nearly 140 million Switch consoles out there right now, and they're going to break the PlayStation 2 record worldwide, which is 144 million consoles sold. They're gonna smash it. They're not even just gonna inch past it. You're gonna, by the time the Switch ends its life cycle, it's gonna be well over 150 million consoles. It's gonna be the new record holder, right? But look, Hargeek,
but it's also it's also a handheld.
It's
right?
also a handheld.
So that's the kicker there, because if you compare it comparatively to past handhelds as well, then it gets a little bit more interesting. So they found a way with that to sell to both of their markets, because you had the
home console and handheld. Yes,
exactly. So it makes sense where they're going to be headed with that thing.
Well, for handhelds, the number 2 console is a handheld. It's Nintendo. So
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
They beat themselves.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. They had like the handheld market's always been crazy strong. Like, especially with Nintendo, they sell like tens and tens of millions of handhelds. Plus, they also sold tons of consoles. So now they have this thing that serves both of their customers. And it makes sense if it's a decent device that it's going to do really well like that.
And the PS2 is 155.
Oh, is it 155? I don't know why I thought it was 140
according to Jim Ryan. So that was his parting gift. It was 160.
All right. Thank you for the correction. For some reason, I thought it was 144, but I still think they're going to smash that record. I really do. But listen, Hargeet, I have some projections here that I want to get into with the numbers for the Xbox 360, because I know we're not, just for context, because we were talking about it before. I know that we have the PlayStation 5 7% ahead of the PS4 at its current life cycle, which is great. There's no need to bring into the Switch, because the Switch obviously has shattered the numbers currently sold versus the 13 million that were sold for the Wii U. Obviously, that's just a joke. But I have numbers here that have been reported as soon as July 15th, 2024. And these are the numbers that you need to know. The Xbox Series X and S is currently behind the Xbox 360 by 1.42 million units. The Xbox Series X and S as of June sold 28.74 units in 42 months, while the Xbox 360 at the same 42-month mark sold 30.16 million units. So they're close. It's, again, should they be ahead of them? Potentially, but the Xbox 360 was the best time in Xbox history, so to be slightly behind them is not a bad number, considering
they technically should not be ahead of them, and it's actually surprising that they're even close.
Yes,
and specifically because in the Xbox 360 era, the only way to play an Xbox game was on an Xbox.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And that ended on Xbox One era. So for them to be able to say we're still close to our best-selling console, even while expanded out to the market like they are now, is actually impressive. But people don't want to take like the realities of modern gaming into consideration. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Hargeet.
No, but Hargeet, I got some more numbers for you. Now we're getting right back into the PlayStation 5 numbers. Again, this is pulled directly from the gi.biz article. It says here sales for monies were up 2% year over year. Net income was up 1.6 billion, which equates to 8.2% year on year. Game and network service sales were up as well year on year by 12%. And again, if you look at these numbers compared to what, even though Xbox doesn't sell as many consoles and they were down 42%, they were making massive amounts of profit, specifically on software and on services. And I just find it very foolhardy with people trying to separate and divide what Activision games and services are making when it's owned by Microsoft. I just think it's a real foolish talking point. But let's get your hot take on the fact that, again, and I think I got to go right back to Pixel Bit, where a lot of these publications are focusing on the 27% year on year, and that's fine. That's just a pinch less than half of what Microsoft posted at the 42% year over year. But when you compare quarters, what did they do last quarter? It's 46%, dude. I mean, and we have seen, and I have the stats, I have all of the numbers. You see that the PS5 is consistently missing its projection every 3 months, and it continues to go down. It was 4.5 million units sold, and that quarter was the holiday quarter. This is now the new fiscal year. This is Q1. This is how they're starting their year, and they only sold a pinch more than half of that. I don't know, man. I don't think that is doom and gloom. I'm just saying that where's the same energy for when Xbox first put their numbers versus what we're seeing today? Let's get your hot take, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of like industry analysis stuff here, right? So first, there hasn't been a lot of impetus for people who don't care about like the high-end graphics and the newness to upgrade. There just hasn't. And because of the way it's structured now, they're essentially PCs, right? The Xbox and PlayStation are essentially PCs. And unless you're forced to do the upgrade, why would you, right? So like me, I'm an enthusiast. Boom, you're an enthusiast. Like this panel, we're all enthusiasts, right? And we just want new stuff. So we'll go buy it. Fair enough. There's a market for that. And those people went out and bought a new console, even though the majority of the games you play are cross-gen. You can still play them on the old systems. But for people who don't care, they're like, my console works. I just want to buy the game and play it. They haven't had an impetus until, we got the college football game. That finally pushed some people that say, fine, I'll go buy a console. Right. But they don't want to. And I get it. They don't need to. Like ultimately, people play freaking on a phone. They don't care. They just want to play the game. It's just a vehicle for them to get access to play. Right. It's just like watching a movie. You don't have to watch it on a 80-inch TV. You could watch it on a little mobile phone. Right. It's up to you. You can choose whichever path you want to go in. Right. I like the big screen. Some people just want to watch it while they're sitting on a train or something. I'm just going to watch. Okay, here you go. Like whatever, right? It's fine. It is what it is. People game the way they want to game. And that's kind of the way it goes. And like the idea that the console is dying, well, it's not dying. There's still a gen or so left. There might be 2 gens left, right? But as far as my video is still frozen again.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
It is what it is, I guess. I don't know what's going on with it. But look, as far as the Sony numbers, let's first start with they're fine. They're totally fine. It doesn't matter. Like Sony isn't dying here, okay?
No.
PlayStation isn't dying here. The problem we run into is it doesn't matter what happens, Xbox is always dying. That's always the problem. Is no matter what happens, Xbox is always dying. Xbox could sell $5 trillion and then they're still dying. There's no games. It's all over. You might as well just pack it up. Why are you even here, Xbox? Why do you keep bothering us? Why don't you just go away? That mentality has to end. It just has to end. Okay? I'm not calling out any names. I'm just saying in general, there's way too much of this negativity for everything Xbox. It's just ridiculous that always seems to be the case. Here are some realities. Xbox has to sell enough hardware to make its hardware worth making. That does not mean it needs to beat Nintendo.
Right.
That does not mean it needs to beat PlayStation. It doesn't mean it needs to beat anybody. It just means it has to go to market and have customers. That's it. That's all it means. It doesn't matter how many. They have to sell enough for their bottom line. Not my bottom line. Not PlayStation's bottom line. Not IGN's bottom line. GameSpot. A Game Informer does well, not Game Informer, they're dead, but whoever, right? Eurogamer, PC Gamer, it doesn't matter to any of them. Does Microsoft feel that they can continue to do so, gain enough customers to make it worth their while? That's all that matters, right? I always liken it to, does Wendy's have to beat McDonald's to be in the market? No, they don't. They just have to be in the market. Can they sustain their business? They're good. It doesn't matter. Beyond that, it's irrelevant, right? So Xbox does not need to beat Nintendo, just like PlayStation can't beat Nintendo and won't beat Nintendo. It doesn't matter. They can still be in the market, even though they didn't beat Nintendo. That's fine. Xbox doesn't need to beat anybody. They just need to beat their market expectation and be okay. That's all they need to do. On top of which, they decided to diversify. They went into mobile. They went onto PC, which is their platform. And they're doing fine there too. 500 million monthly active users. Right? That's a pretty impressive number. Multiple billions in profit. That's a pretty impressive thing. That's what they need to do. They don't care where you play. They just give you options. This is how Microsoft works. You can run SQL Server on a Linux box. Certainly it works on Windows too. They'd love for you to buy Windows. But if you don't want to buy it, go buy Linux. Go put it there. They don't care. They just want to sell you the goddamn software.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You have to look at it from their perspective. If you want to play the game somewhere else, fine. You want to play it on their platform? Fine. They'll give you a platform. And they give you a fantastic platform. It's up to you to choose to use it. And there are enough customers for them to continue with the platform. They've already said it. They're happy. Why the heck are we second guessing Microsoft, who's a numbers company, on whether they should continue in the market when they're saying they're happy enough to continue in the market? Just listen to them. Like, okay, what enough of that, I guess. I don't know why that becomes such a freaking thing. Why Xbox has to leave the market every freaking month. Doom and gloom. As far as PlayStation, look, the entire industry is kind of in a downturn. That's the way it is. Nintendo's numbers are down, but they're also nearing the end of their life cycle. That's fair, right? They've already sold 140 plus million freaking consoles. How many more are they going to sell? Well, I think they're looking to sell another 10 million of and beat the PS2, which I guarantee you they've got like a freaking thing on a whiteboard somewhere. How many more until we beat that damn PS2?
Oh, there's no doubt that they cannot wait to hold that title. And you know something? Once they break the record, the only one that's ever going to break that record again would be Nintendo with the Switch 2. Like, yeah, honestly. Right? Yeah.
So I think that still will happen, right? Because they still have legs. Even past the Switch 2 next, whatever it's going to be called, comes out, they will still continue to keep selling the Switch 1, and hopefully it'll go past that mark and be the number one console. So good luck to them. But look, as far as PlayStation, again, they're fine. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Yes, it's gone down, but they're totally fine. I don't want to like call doom and gloom on them at all. Where they're not fine is their game content. That is something they kind of have to go fix. Hopefully that gets resolved. I don't know how, but they're in a quagmire. We saw all the news of Bungie, all the stuff that's happening there. Concord, bleh, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Like the numbers are bad. It is what it is, right? I mean, I wish I could say that, hey, it garnered 10, 20,000 players. It did not. It did abysmally, and that was an open to everybody game, and it still did abysmally. Fragpunk, right? That was the game that Microsoft has shown had more numbers on a private invite only beta
than Concord did.
So so it is what it is, right? So I hope they do well, but I don't know if they will. So this is just kind of where they are, and they have a long stretch of trying to fix that part of their business. In the meanwhile, with the number of consoles, hopefully they can continue to keep getting game revenue from other games that come onto their platform. Good enough. They still have heavy brand recognition, so I think they're going to be fine for a bit. They can still screw it up, they can also turn it around. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they've made the leadership changes needed to make that better. What they do, I don't know. I think they really need to come up with a stellar showcase sometime soon to try to bring enthusiasm back to that platform. But again, that's up to them. Xbox has it going right now. So as far as the 360 numbers, there is a ramp up potential for them with the number of games that are coming, right? So if that enthusiasm keeps going, next year they have yet another stellar showcase, and you keep getting all these games, eventually you just get players who want to play games. It really just comes down to that, right? And if your
GTA is going to cause a run on console sales for sure too.
It is.
100%.
It is. And again, I still think a majority of them might still be PlayStations, but that's fine. It really comes down to how much you can ramp up yourself. I don't expect Xbox to suddenly outdo PlayStation, because worldwide they still have a absolute crap name. There's just nothing, like, nobody in Asia cares about Xbox. And if you're not going to have that market at all, you just basically gave it up, right? So you see that to PlayStation, they're going to own that market. Fine. It is what it is. This is what happens, right? Europe, kind of the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing in Europe too. So
you kind of have to expect that they're not going to win there unless Xbox decides to bring it, bring your A game and try to get into that market and market it and get the market share, which again, it's going to be tough to beat at this point, but they do have the games for it, right? And if they can, sell Game Pass, sell the games, you can get somewhere. But I highly doubt they're going to, take over in Europe. They could win America. They could win the US.
Mhm.
That is a possibility, right? But that's still a long shot. But that is a possibility. They're still pretty close. But if they continue to keep putting up all these games, it is possible they could take over here, which would put them on good footing. And if they really do bring in the next gen earlier, there is a possibility that they could take over at least here and maybe even make a pitch for the other parts of the world to say, hey, we've got all these games, we've got Game Pass, and you're getting the next gen version of a whole bunch of games. Here's our lineup, right? It's a possibility, right? It's a sell. They'll have to do that, and that's up to them, right? But as far as sustainability, they're all fine. You don't have to worry about it. Microsoft is making a killing on their gaming division, a killing, right? And so you don't have to worry about them going away. You have to worry about what value you get and how much they keep increasing the prices. That's all you need to worry about, and keep pushing back. Don't let them keep increasing prices for nothing. But that's what you need to worry about. Not like, are they going to stay in the market? When you spend $100 billion, you're not going to say, oh, well, you know what? We're just playing around. We're going to throw that. That's not happening.
We're just playing around.
That's not
I
happening.
love it.
That's not happening. Okay, that's not happening. Do you understand what 100 billion? There are 100 countries in the world that don't have that for a GDP.
Yep.
That's how much money they spent on gaming. You have to understand just how ridiculous that is. Right? It's very hard to conceptualize what $100 billion is, because we keep throwing out big numbers. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. They're not going to just suddenly decide, oh, we're just going to turn that off. That's not happening. They'd go buy Sony before that happens, which, by the way, isn't worth that much money. I'm just saying, that's how ridiculous that is. And that's not PlayStation. The entire freaking Sony isn't worth that much. So you have to put it in perspective as to how much they've spent. They're not getting out of this game. They're trying to make money, and they're probably going to buy more. And there was a hint about us.
We have a potential.
Warner Brothers looking a little tasty right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. I think it's something we're gonna. Again, I didn't have it for scheduled today. I have actually scheduled.
I'm just saying, tasty.
I have it scheduled for Friday's Breakfast at Boom, because I'm writing that show right now. I think that's a play. I think it's a play that is Microsoft finds themselves, even though they're still battling the FTC, I still think that Warner Brothers gaming division is still worth something. Obviously I still
think they need the IP though. That's the big problem. Well, and for all those people who are dooming and glooming, exposed.
I love it. Oh man. So you know what? like I said, the 3 console makers, the 3 platforms, they all took some losses, but they're all making a lot of money. Listen, the truth of the matter is that the brand recognition and the market leader currently is PlayStation. I don't know how long that's going to how long that they're going to stay in that spot if they don't offer up first party games. Right? They cannot get third party deals that sell to 2 million customers, and they have 60 million units out there. I think that when the people are there's some people in the chat are running around with the big flag that says 60 million. I hear you, but when you start seeing that Final Fantasy 16 didn't sell well, and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth didn't sell well, and Stellar Blade, which is supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, sold 1 million, and the and Rise of the Ronin sold 2 million. That's not a great number for an exclusive to A1 box. That's not good. When you're running with the 60 million units out there. I hear you, and that's a great number, and it's something to be proud of. But where are the people buying the games? They're just not. You know why? Because the people that bought the PlayStation 5 are playing black hole games. And what are black hole games? Games that you stay in and you play nothing else. Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone, you name it. That is what they are playing.
They're going to remain cross-gen, right? Because there's no incentive for them to take that away. There's no incentive.
There isn't. And the other interesting part here is that, and this is confirmed numbers, folks. You can go look it up yourself. I'm not going to go find it for you. Over 50% of current PlayStation users are on a PS4 or PS4 Pro. That is a reality. Now, is there a chance that those customers move over to next gen for something like Call of Duty? Well, I don't know. I mean, eventually, whenever Call of Duty stops going on last gen, then potentially. But I am going to tell you, though, it's hard for one of these normies or casual audience, if you will, that are still playing on Xbox One X or Xbox One S or PS4 or PS4 Pro. It's hard to tell these people, hey, in this economy, go spend $549 or $499 or $599 in some instances on a new Xbox Series X or a PS5. They're just not going to do it. But here's the caveat to that. Everborn Saga put out a post today where in Costco, you can get an Xbox Series S for $149, like today.
Is that with the trade-in, or is that just outright?
That was Costco. They don't do trade-ins.
Whoa.
So look, you know what? I have his tweet right here.
That's a pretty good deal. Holy crap.
He has a picture of it. Where are you?
Wow.
Yeah, let me see. Did I send that to you, or did I send that? Where the hell did he didn't delete it? I don't think he deleted it. Let's see. I found it. He had a picture of the of it being $150, which is just that's just ridiculous. If that in fact is the truth, and again, why would he lie? He wouldn't. So let me see if I have it here. Oh man, you know what? I got to go into my tweets. Yeah, here it is, right here. I got it here. Everborn Saga. He goes, it's real, and it's this Xbox Series S at Costco. I'll even give you the lane and the code number. It's 1687857, and it says here Xbox Series S, all digital console and stereo headset bundle, $149.99.
Oh, it includes the headset
and headset as well.
Damn.
Yeah. So $150, you're in. Now, do people run out to get? Do people go out and spend $150 to get NCAA, which is only next gen? Yes. What if those same people who 10 years ago, 5 years ago, didn't know what a Netflix was, did not know what a Disney Plus or a Hulu or a Prime Video was? They didn't know what that was. But those same normies are now even more educated consumers because they already are in multiple subscription services. So they understand that if they buy subscription A, it has this show or these films that I'm watching. They can equate that to gaming. Maybe they're not diehard gamers, But you know what they're going to know? They're going to know about Call of Duty. Most people do, right? Even people that live under a rock know what Call of Duty is. And once it gets out to the hardcore and we start talking with our normie friends about how Black Ops 6 is in Game Pass, you're going to see a run on these consoles because of this price. $150 today. What are they going to what is going to be the price during Black Friday? It's probably going to be around the same, right? So people are going to go out and buy Xbox Series S, and like Mav said earlier, these same people, and I think it might have even been Pixelbit G that talked about it as well. They don't care about going to. They probably have 1080p TVs. They probably don't even have 4K TVs. So imagine going from a PS4 or an Xbox One X to a Series X. It's going to be leaps and bounds, and the cost of entry is going to be super cheap. There's an opportunity for Microsoft, which is why they spent $100 billion, like Hargeet said, over the course of 2 acquisitions, and they're going to continue to drive that point home. I don't know if they go for a WB. I don't know if they try and do a Take-Two with a new president. Maybe.
Take-Two would be awesome, but what is there something going on with Take-Two and the president?
No. I'm just saying that just because a new president would be different ideology versus what's currently in front
the
of them.
FTC. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Also, like the numbers for PlayStation sales, does that still include the Portal and the PSVR 2?
Some people in the chat are saying yes. I can't confirm or deny that. I have no idea. I know that they said, Sony themselves, they were going to count PlayStation Portal as console sales. I don't know if they ever did that or they didn't. I don't know.
PSVR didn't sell that much, so
but they did indicate that they were going to do that. They wouldn't count those units as console sales. So who knows if they did, right? I mean, there's no way to separate the numbers.
How can they get away with doing that? It's so weird. Like I'm just saying,
there's some people in the chat saying that you technically need a PS5 to play it. That is true. That doesn't make it a console.
It's an accessory.
It's an accessory.
I mean, technically, it is an accessory, right? But
yes,
wasn't it like wasn't it Matt Piscatella who reported that they were going to count those numbers?
Yes. That's what they were asking.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't think Piscatella did though. I don't think they did. But
Sony had requested it for the reporting groups, right? Is what I understand for what category it should be in is what I remember. It just is weird to me.
It's 1,000% weird. But listen, guys, I kind of want to do a segue here. Now we have heard, if you are a fan of the Iron Lords, which of course we all are, and King David, who I consider to be an extension of my family, has always been saying hashtag no PS6, right? He believes that. And he's also 98.9% right at the time. So there's that. But I do want to ask the chat, and I of course want to ask the panel. I'm gonna go right back to Pixelbit G here, and this is the segue. Now the numbers for Sony, and I have them here. I'm gonna read you the last 5 quarters for PS5 sales numbers, starting with Q1 of last year.
Mm-hmm.
In Q1, they sold 3.3 million consoles. In Q2, they went up 4.9 million consoles. In Q3, which of course is the holiday, that is that holiday block, right? They sold 8.2, which is a lot of consoles. That's a lot of PS5s that were sold, right? Q4, they dropped almost, I think it was 42%, 43%. They dropped down to 4.5. And of course, Q1, which is what we're in right now, ladies and gentlemen, they have reported that they sold 2.4 million PS5s.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's still a lot of consoles in those 5 quarters. There's no doubt about it. But here's the question, gentlemen. And this is the segue, ladies and gentlemen, that I was talking about. At this point, seeing how they continue to miss their marks, right? They say, okay, for 4 quarters, we are expecting to sell. I think it was 25 million PS5s for last year's 4 quarters, Q1, 2, 3, and 4. They had to readjust it, and they made it. They cut it by 4 million, and they made it 21. which by the numbers in front of me, they still missed. They missed it by 200,000 PS5s. They sold a total of 20.8 million, which is still a lot of consoles,
Sure.
but it's obviously they had to cut the numbers of what they originally forecasted, which was 25. Now we are in Q1. They sold 2.4. The next 4 quarters, they are expecting to sell 18.5 million. This is not a good start. So where am I going with this, chat and gentlemen? I'm going where the mythical PS5 Pro, is it a possibility or do they scrap it? Because here's an interesting factoid. When the PlayStation 4 Pro came out, they used the PlayStation VR 1.0 as a selling point, saying, "Hey, buy the new VR unit, and the PS4 Pro is going to make it that much better." They can't do that now because the PlayStation VR 2.0 has failed and
Yep.
is now sitting on shelves. It just got a $200 price reduction from its original $599 and $549.99 respectively.
hmm
Do you think that they have it in their budget based on some of the stuff that's going on? They got the Bungie situation going on. We have a report from GameRant.com that in July they lost over 50% of their subscribers to their 2 top tiers of PlayStation Plus.
Hmm.
I don't think we're going to see a PlayStation 5 Pro. And I add caveat to that on the back end, Pixel. Why would they release it when they don't have any major first party games releasing this year that could show off what they're doing? What do you think? PS5 Pro in the fall or nay?
I mean, I say nay. I mean, so right.
You like how I said that, right? Nay.
Nay. I kind of went in on this earlier today as well, right? That along with the way people like to report things, that they were in the mindset that the PS5 Pro would come and help boost those numbers, right? But the problem with the Pro concept, at least for this generation, is there's no real impetus to buy it, right? And this is from somebody who had two PS4 Pros. Right? There's really just no. I don't see a reason coming into this holiday where I need to buy another console from them. There are no games that are going to come out that reflect the quote unquote power of the system. Based on the specification of the system, you're not going to get the FPS advantage that you would hope for. And do I need you to take my image, drop it to 720p so you could upscale it to, via your pisser technology, right? That I always call it the pisser because it's just hilarious to me, right? But like they're gonna need to upscale it just to get it to visually look better than the current model. For that, I'll just take the model I have and run the games the way they come at 1440 with the current upscalers they use. I'm not going to give you $600 to do that. Majority of gamers, especially on PlayStation, are casuals. They're not going to give you $600 for that, for the luxury of that either. And then this is still PlayStation we're talking about here, right? This is the company that has habitually charged for upgrades. Habitually. And we know based on the leak specifications for their upgrade pattern that it is not out of the box. Doesn't work the way the Xbox does, where it can magically upgrade your software. It has to be coded, which means they're going to charge you for that. I'm not paying for that. So I'm wondering if they think anyone thinks it's worth it. And I personally don't think that they think it's worth it. Because if it was, we're in August. Where's the advertisements? It's 3 months out.
Yeah.
Right? The holiday season is literally around the corner at this point. And we've heard nothing.
And they're skipping Gamescom, so
right, you skipping Gamescom, so you have no place to show it. You normally would show something like this at the end of an E3 conference. They had the E3. They didn't mention anything about a new hardware. I do believe that it was in the works, but at this point, I believe that they feel like they're so far ahead that there is no reason to buy to put out another console. And I would agree. There is no reason to put out another console. They should be taking whatever effort they have now and put it into the effort of making a better PS6 or whatever the next console they're going to make is. Focus on that, because this would be a waste of money. The same way the PSVR was a waste of money for them to put out. Right? Like
Same thing for the Portal, for that matter.
Well, no, but to the Portal's credit, even though I personally think it's useless, there are many devices that work better than the Portal and can do the same thing as a Portal. People have purchased it for whatever godforsaken reason, and it may be just because of the price of it, right?
$200 is one of those you walk past and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy that. It's $200.
Yeah, for a dummy screen, right? It's $200 for a dummy screen, which is funny because it wasn't like the Xbox 360 doing a dummy screen with the phones. I digress.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
and then the Wii did it better with their short circuit technology or whatever, that short range throw technology that they had, which, you know, I still use the Wii U now. It works perfectly. But I just don't see where you have no title to go with the game, to go with the console to begin with, other than Astrobot. And even then, the rumor is that Astrobot wouldn't even be native on the console. Who's buying that? I'm not. So yeah, I think it probably was in development and they are thinking about it, but I would be very surprised if they do. And if they do, I'm telling you, it is not going to go well.
Yeah,
because pros mid-gen consoles are always niche, no matter how good they are. They're niche consoles. We saw it last gen when we actually needed an upgrade last gen, and it still was a niche product. Didn't sell well. Neither console sold well with the mid-gen. People ain't built for that. They don't want it. Only Nintendo can get away with doing stuff like that. Like
Nintendo is always going to Nintendo.
A slightly better screen, and people are like, "Yay, it's great!" You know, that's Nintendo. But yeah, I don't see it. I think they move forward and just stick to the console they currently have.
And that's a great point, Mav. I want to bring you in, but before I do, let me just catch up on super chats. We have Sith Lord here, who opens up the show with a $2 super chat and says, "My man, Mav, boom, you're getting rain on Friday from Debbie." Yeah, it's going to be pissing rain, I think, the whole weekend here. As long as it doesn't knock out power, we're okay. Web Dave, hey Dave, what's going on, brother? You're looking really sharp there, fella. Lost a lot of weight. You're looking good and healthy. And of course, Web Dave, one of the finest in the community, he drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Boom, Hargeet, Mav, Pixel Bit, Mega Panel, hashtag no PS5 Pro." Well, there you go. Freddie Fox in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, "Phil for years said MAUs are what's important. Recently, Sony's own executive said the same thing, but media doesn't want to talk about Xbox's 500 million MAUs to 116 for the place for Sony. I wonder why." Well, there you go. We have Bounty drops a very who has been a channel member for 38 months, dude. Thank you so much for the generosity and the support. Bonti. Okay, well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for this. He says, "Hey everyone, great show, Boom and panel. I think that the next set off of console is going to be even lower sales because of the times we were in." Yeah, I mean, I think Hargeet really knocked it out of the park where he says that Microsoft, as the corporation, says we're going to sell these. Can we sell these consoles to these consumers? Yes, we can, but we're still making money from everywhere else. That's why consoles are still going to be around. And I think that, again, they are working on a handheld. Jez Corden just talked about that on the Xbox 2, where he believes it's going to be its own device outside of the home console. That's going to bring people it's going to bring people into the ecosystem because they can take it on the go. We have THX1138 drops, not one, but $2 super chats. And thank you so much, THX. I appreciate you being here, brother. And thank you for the generosity. The first one, he says, PS4 players aren't buying PS5s, let alone a PlayStation 5 Pro. I absolutely agree. And Sony PR to stop exodus to Xbox, Game Pass, and Call of Duty. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna try. I don't know how that's gonna work out for them. But Mav, let's get your hot take on this, man. Do you think that there is a PS5 Pro releasing this fall? And based on just the numbers of what we've seen, again, they had a great Q3 of last year, and they could potentially match that same Q3 this year. But I am going to say it's going to be a bit harder because they don't have any first-party, quote-unquote, bangers. I'm excited for Astrobot, but a lot of people aren't. That's not a console seller. Do you think there is a PS5 Pro in the works?
In the works, yes. Does it actually happen this year, or do they cancel it? Do they push it back? That's where I don't know, because I think that was their plans. There's been enough smoke out there with some pretty concrete numbers, even specifics to some of the limitations on the CPU and all this other kind of stuff, right? So I think it depends on what they think they can, how much they think they can sell. If they do announce it, we're probably going to get an announcement later this month or early next month at the latest. And it would need to be kind of one of these big PlayStation shows where they have some kind of reveal and they do this big hopes and dreams showcase, right? Kind of like they did back in 2016, where they kind of, hey, here's
Year
all these
dreams.
games
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
like the next couple years. And here's the reason why, and if you've been waiting to jump into the PS5 generation, now is the time. You can either get the traditional PS5, or you want to really make a difference, go for the PS5 Pro. But I just don't know what their pipeline is, and why I'm thinking like I don't know if it ends up actually getting released this year or not, would be dependent on where they are with the release schedules on those games. And I think they had planned for a bigger first party title after the first quarter of 2025. But where is that? They haven't announced it yet. If they announce it at this Hopes and Dreams show, then it would make it more likely. But if they don't, then we're looking at probably it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
It's not this year. Yep.
because they would have to rely on the third party to really showcase it, right? To showcase the benefits of buying a PS5 Pro. And with the situation of having trouble even selling the PS5s currently right now, because of people still being happy with last generation and all these other kind of things. I just feel like you got to have enough benefit there to spend as much money as they're probably going to ask. And I don't know if there's enough big third party games that are going to showcase that for them to have that benefit. Like GTA 6 would be the only one, but what kind of benefit could they have over the other hardware? And that remains to be seen, especially when you look at what the reports were of the CPU. I think really performance more than fidelity is really what showcases like well for people and advantages and stuff. Like if you start talking about running games that nobody else can play at 60 frames without sacrifices and fidelity and ray tracing and all these other kind of things, then you're onto something, right? But if it can't even do that, then why? And with the CPU thing, the 10% boost, all that kind of crap, it just doesn't scream to me. Now, I'm not a tech guy, so maybe it could be better than that. Maybe it could be they could showcase something and be like, wow, I have to have that, right? But unless they actually can showcase it with that kind of feeling, then it's going to get pushed. And I don't know. I don't think there's anything out there that they have ready or that's going to hit the market. Even the big third party games this year, Xbox has got the marketing on those with Ubisoft, Star Wars Outlaws, and Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? So
Yep.
I don't really see what games are there to really push it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't they're not. There's not a magic game hidden behind like a secret compartment that's going to pop out. We know what's coming this year. Like I said, Astrobot, I'm super stoked. I'm even so excited about the game that I'm going to nerd out and try and get the controller on Friday.
Oh, I'm
Is
definitely getting that controller. It's fine.
That controller looks dope. I'm not going to front. So I'm getting both. I'm nerding out and getting both. So I'm very excited for that. But that's not going to be for for everyone. And I understand that because I'm a platform guy. Hargeet, I want to bring you in now. Look, I'm at direct.playstation.com right now. A PS5 digital edition is $449. A Slim is $499. So it's $500 versus $450. Those are for the current gen consoles. How much would a Pro be? Probably around $599 at the minimum, maybe higher. Maybe it's $649. If they're not selling PS5 current gen consoles at these prices where they're flying off shelves, and they're just not. The numbers prove it. There's no way they're going to be able to release a Pro and be happy that 1 million people bought it, because that's about all that's going to buy that. About 1 million PlayStation enthusiasts, like diehard fans, are going to have the money, or going to go out and buy a console that's going to cost them nearly $700. Do you think that it's still happening?
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? If they've made it, they kind of have to put it out there. I mean, they could scrap the whole thing after spending all that R&D and getting everything all ready to go. You hear that there's a dev kit. Again, I don't know how much of that's true or not. So I don't know. It's the other headache they run into is if they push it a year, how far out is their next gen then?
Yeah.
And that becomes
Exactly.
a problem.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Hang on a sec. So I think if they want to get it out there, unfortunately, they really have to push it out now. Because if the rumor of Xbox coming in 2026 is true,
Yep.
if they push this in next year, you've got at least 2 to 3 years before they can put out the next console. That puts them in 2028. That's terrible for them.
Yeah.
You don't want a 2-year lead, right? Even a 1-year lead is
A
bad.
1-year lead would be devastating, because look what happened during the Xbox 360 versus the PS3
Exactly.
era. Yeah.
They established so much faster, and then you're gonna give them 2 years. They'd have to have a pretty extensive lineup to make it work, but this is where it starts to become a problem. Xbox already has an extensive lineup, and it's gonna only get worse as it keeps going because their studios are gonna just keep churning. Right, the COVID delay is over now, so now that thing is just gonna keep giving you games every year. You're probably gonna end up with 6 to 7 major games every year from them. PlayStation's gonna have to somehow compete with that and be 2 years behind. The PS5 Pro is like, it's one of the most ridiculous things they could have done. If it's coming out, look, you just get it over with and put it out this year. Because if they don't, they are pushing themselves to like basically not have a PS6. Because it's, how can you have a 2-year delay from your major competitor? It's gonna be a major problem. So this is such a tough, it's a business decision from hell. Now, if they've spent the R&D and made something, do they then scrap it? It's been done before. So it can happen that they can just scrap the bloody thing, which to me makes the most sense, because really I have no idea who it's for. I just have never understood what the PS5 Pro is for. You're so like, there hasn't been a performance advantage that Xbox can say, ha ha, see, we're that much better than you. That really hasn't materialized. So what's the benefit, right? There might be slight advantage in resolution here and there, but it's just not that big a deal. Nobody seems to care. So like, I don't see that being a problem. And you're still selling your console. Your console's still selling well, right? Oh, it's dipped. It's still selling well.
It's still selling.
What's the point? Like, where's the value? Like, your competitor isn't doing it. You got all their freaking books. You got everything in the case that you set up with the FTC and you set up with the CMA. So you already got all their books. You already know they're not making another freaking console, right? So a mid-gen, a pro console. So, well, what is the point of continuing with it? It just, I don't know. It just seems like a big boondoggle around their neck that's going to drag them if they keep doing it. So in a lot of ways, to me, it's better to scrap it. But I think they're going to freaking put it out there. If they delay it another year to say, oh, we need GTA 5, 6, and we need like some of our own games to come out. Oh man, that just seems like such a bad idea. it's consumer unfriendly. It really is, because you're going to say, I'm going to put this thing out, and then like a year or two later, they're going to have to put out their PS6. So it's going to have a very short shelf life. I just don't know why you do it, but that's PlayStation. So if they're going to put it out, it's got to be this year. And if they're going to put it out, I don't know what the hell they're showcasing with it. Right? Like, to your point, Mav, the only game that makes sense is Shadows, and that one's being marketed by Xbox, not them. So what are they going to do? Are they going to go to Ubisoft and beg, please give us the marketing for the game? You've already got marketing with Xbox. I don't know. It does. It's just a tough sell. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to really do to make that pitch. They have nothing of their own except Astrobot. Like, okay, is that really going to show off your freaking system?
You know,
I mean, Concord. Like, I don't even think that thing survives until then.
Yeah,
sadly. Now look, they could rejigger one of their old games, right? The remaster of Last of Us Part 1 or something. I don't know. They could do something like that. I guess, you know, is Last of Us 2 ready for a remaster? Maybe it's Ragnarok's turn. Has it been 2 years yet? Maybe they need to remaster that one. You know, that's probably all they can do. I don't know what else they're really going to do, but if they're going to put it out, they have to put out some games with it. Are they going to charge for that? Sadly, I think they are. I think they're going to charge you for an upgrade version. There's going to be a remaster you have to buy that's going to have
I guarantee you that it's not going to be a $10 upgrade. They're going to charge you $15. So if you want to play The Last of Us,
tax, boy.
Yeah, they're going to get you. They're going to get you that for $15. You'll see.
And yeah, so I mean, I think if they're going to do it, it's coming out this year. Otherwise, they really shoot themselves in the foot. I don't think it's a good idea to put it out next year, because then you're really telling people your next console is 2028.
What's the price?
Yikes.
If they release it this year, what do they put it out at?
Minimum
Since there's no discount yet, I think it's got to be 600. I don't see it being less than that. Oh, if you put it at like 550, then who's buying the PS5? And that's going to be your majority seller, right? So you have to put it at 600, and it might be even higher than that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just such a bad idea. It's like an all around.
Again, it's speculation. Obviously, Sony. Again, we've seen the specs. People are saying no, it doesn't exist. No, it exists. Whether it's an actual,
I'm pretty sure they made it.
They made something, because obviously it was reported on by a lot of like big investigative journalists.
Yeah, but you know, to be fair, prototypes happen all the time, right?
Oh, sure they do. Sure.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's sitting in a warehouse.
You know, I know. I'm just saying
for
the people listening, right? Like, prototypes happen all the time. A console gets made, they send it out. I mean, people build for it the whole 9 yards. It can still get scrapped. Like, it doesn't have to release. But I'm sure that there are existing dev kits for this console at this point.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that there is. But look, real quick, we're at the 90-minute mark. We're going to kind of call it, because obviously we got to the two topics we wanted to get into. Hargeet, if you want to join us on Friday, I'm writing the show for what I think they're going to do with WB. I think there's going to be a conversation. I really do. I think that the IP that they have is worthy of penny, thumbing through the books, and Microsoft isn't done. Right, they're going to continue to buy, and they're interested in collecting IPs. They own Call of Duty, they own Minecraft, they have all these major IPs. What if you add, NetherRealm Studios, Mortal Kombat to your owned IPs? It's going to be everywhere. They're going to release it everywhere.
Discussion, but I think the right ones are Valve and Take-Two. Those are the ones that really make a lot more sense.
Take-Two makes. I have a theory, which I'm going to save for the show. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to ask a favor. I don't like asking for anything, but we're close. And what am I talking about? We're at 14,966 subs. We need 34 subs, and there's almost 700 people watching live across YouTube and Twitter. And I think we delivered a pretty damn good show today, with a lot of big opinions, and of course backed up actual documentation, stats that we read verbatim. If you enjoyed today's show and you want to help us get to 15K, which would be pretty dope to do live on the air, do that now. Again, I don't like to ask for anything, but this is a big deal for us. We're a small channel. We have grown over the course of 5.5 years. We'll make 6 years on YouTube, November 3rd of 2024, which is what we're in right now. And we did it the right way. We don't use hate mongering. We follow all the rules of YouTube as you're supposed to. And when you follow the rules, well, YouTube tells you you're doing a good job, but they don't put you into the algorithm. So you got to work extra hard. And well, I produce 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday, 5 live shows. If you are enjoying the content, it would be pretty dope for you to subscribe. And we got 2 more. So we are officially 32 subscribers away from 15K. That is, again, it's a really big deal. But look, I'm not gonna hang out here and waste anyone's time. Hit the like button before you get on out of here. Consider subscribing. A big thank you to all of the super chats that came in and the channel memberships that continue to support the channel behind the scene. Let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Mav. Fun speculation. Obviously, you were under the weather. You've been, according to yourself, you were sporadic with the shows, but you did play. I watched a couple of them. A lot of NCAA 25, which is a real. You know what? I'm not gonna front. Like watching you play. And I'm not a college guy. I don't watch college football. I almost bought it, bro. Like, I almost freaking bought the game. And I'm like, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Because I know it's going to happen. I'm going to play a couple of games and we're going to play it again. Matt, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone about the Fun Speculation Network where you do the choo-choo all the time, which is great. Talk about it, bro. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? But more importantly, follow you on social media.
Yeah, it's good to be back here, Boom. It's been a while, like you said at the beginning. It's been too long. But thanks for having me. It's great hanging out here with Pixelbit and Hargeet. I think it seems like anytime I'm a guest on a show, Hargeet ends up being there in some form or fashion. It's pretty awesome, though. But yeah, if you guys want to check out what we got going on, just go over to Fun Speculation on YouTube. We do 3 shows a week. Mondays, we have Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursdays, tomorrow night, Pong, Soul, and I have a 2-man show. It's called PM in the PM. It goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Friday nights is Xbox Ultimate Podcast, where we get a little bit wild and crazy at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, game streams, reactions, and sometimes some solo streams where I just get a little heated and rant or whatever. It just depends on.
I love the
rants are awesome.
They are the best. They really are. And how he talks for 2 hours, it's by himself, is beyond me. Man, that is a pro right there. You're looking at. That's good stuff, brother.
It depends on what the news is or what the feelings are. You got to have the right moments. You know what I mean? But thanks everybody for watching Boom, one of the class acts here in the community, and always trying to help and support everybody out there. Get him to 15K because nobody deserves it more in this community, in my opinion.
That's very kind of you to say, brother. Thank you so much. And we are 30 away now, folks. 30 subscribers away from 15,000, which is pretty ridiculous, to be honest with you. But thge, brother, it was so great to catch up with you. Again, we had to have you on tonight because of some of the tweets I saw. We're like, okay, now I got to reach out to him. He's really dropping it like it's hot. And of course, you delivered as expected. Bro, where can people follow you on social media? But what else you got going on in the back end?
But I got going on in the back end is being busy as hell. But but for the most part, anytime Boom, he give me the call, man. I try to find some time to jump in for him, man. I appreciate you, Boom, all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I notice whenever I say something super spicy, I get a Boom says like, yo, bro, come on. So I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, you'll find me on shows every now and again. But like I said, right now I am. Oh boy, life is running at 100 miles per hour right now, but it's all good. Pleasure as always being on the show with Boom. I think this is my first time on with Mav. Man, Mav, you're a legend, dude. Like I enjoy your content, bro. and Hargeet. Well, me and Hargeet, I wind up on a lot of shows with Hargeet as well now because Hargeet is literally everywhere, right? The dude is
He is there. He is the here, there, and everywhere.
You know,
There's no
the man is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, but shout out to the chat, man. Like really, really good. With, most of y'all talking good stuff in the chat. Even the ones that's talking crazy, yo. We appreciate y'all and we love the content, man. I love the back and forth, so it's all good, right? So, see y'all on X sometime during the week with somebody else say something crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, thanks again for joining us. And Hargeet, man, we gotta sell your brand because not only do you have a YouTube channel that you consistently put content on and have one of the best reaction videos that has crossed over 70,000+ views, and of course that is the E-Day. If you missed it, go to his channel and check it out. It is very well done, and well, folks, he has over 70,000 views for that particular one. And you know what? We were there together. Obviously, we recorded separately. Hargeet, love the work that you're doing in the community. Of course, you're on a lot of shows. And of course, to add already to this crazy list, he wrote a book, folks, called Emergence. I have it right here. I gotta finish it so we can have a conversation about it. You should buy it too if you like science fiction. If you like Mass Effect-esque, science fiction, you should definitely check it out. Hargeet, sell the brand, brother. Where can people buy the book, subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, not follow you on social media because he's doing the right thing. He's off of social media.
Yeah, and my video has been freezing, so I just figured I'd put up a little picture. But yeah, so if you want to buy the book, it's shop.china.us. Check it out. And if you, I'll be on with Fonz and with Zocker and D. And Colt this evening at 10:30 Eastern on Fonz Gaming's channel for GameStop Live. So we'll have a mini RDX reunion without unfortunately dealer, but hey, check it out. It's a few hours from now. We'll be hanging out and talking about all this stuff again. And then I'll be on C Money's show, C Money and Doodle's show on Friday, and that's night shift, 7 p.m. US Eastern. So check that out as well on Point for Gamers. But yeah, and I if you want to reach me, I am available on Discord, HChani. So outside of that, no, I'm not on social media. And have nice having you, fun speculate, Mav and Pixelbit.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. And of course, he's smart. He's off of social media. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us this evening. A big thank you for everyone that tuned in. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to A, hit the subscribe button, and B, before you get on out of here, hit the like button. It does help more than you could imagine. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.